Councilmember Von Rudenberg,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
Here.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Here.
Mayor LaBrus.
Here.
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10:4-6 et sec. Notice having been published according to law, with a copy on file in the city clerk's office and a copy posted on the bulletin board in City Hall. Pursuant to Open Public Meeting Act and recent regulations issued by the state of New Jersey, the following procedures will be in effect for public comment during this remote public meeting of the City Council. The public shall have an opportunity for comment during the designated public portion of this meeting. The time period for public comment is limited to 3 minutes for each speaker, and no person may address the council more than once, except for speaking during an advertised public hearing for an ordinance. At the time designated for public comment, the mayor or other presiding officer of the council will recognize one speaker at a time. That speaker must identify himself or herself by full name and whether or not he or she resides in Hackensack. No other member of the public is permitted to speak unless recognized by the presiding officer, and other remote attendees may be muted during that time if necessary to eliminate background noise. Meeting attendees shall exhibit appropriate demeanor during this meeting as required by Section 37-15 of the City Code. In the event any member of the public becomes disruptive at any time, that individual may be muted by the presiding officer and will receive a warning that continued disruption may result in being prevented from speaking or removed from the meeting entirely. The Zoom meeting platform has a texting function. However, this is to be used only for the purpose of advising the city's IT staff of any technical concerns or issues. The public may also submit written public comments to be audibly read into the record by the city clerk during the public portion of any remote public meeting of the City Council. Comments can be submitted by regular mail or by email to asabi@hackensack.org. Comments received less than 5 hours before the start of a meeting may be carried to the next meeting. Any person who actually speaks during the public comment portion of a remote public meeting may not also have a comment read into the record. The city clerk will stop reading a written comment into public record once it reaches a 3-minute limit. Duplicate written comments may be summarized and noted for the record in a consistent manner. Frank, do you have a flag for us?
Flag, Frank.
Got it.
Would everybody please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Frank.
No problem.
Okay, and with that, we'll turn it right over to the city manager. Ted?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is the Committee of the Whole agenda for February 9th, 2021. First on the agenda is a presentation of sewer separation from Suburban Engineering. We're lucky enough to have Aaron Abeline on the line. Aaron?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm going to share my screen here. All right, can you see a PowerPoint presentation?
We can.
Okay, great. So I was asked today to speak in regards to the city's progress in their combined sewer area abatement and sewer separation projects. I believe my last update to you all was in November of last year, and a lot has happened since then. So I think it's a good time to have a check-in. So just to remind everyone, just see my controls here, what the goals of the city are when it comes to sewer separation. The city's long-term control plan was developed for the city and approved by the state to identify strategies, one being sewer separation, to meet the following discharge permit requirements for the combined sewer areas. The city has to either decrease combined sewer overflow to 4 occurrences per year or achieve 85% capture. For the capture requirement, when you look at the overall volume of storms, rain that falls through the city, contributory to a combined sewer system, over a year, only 15% of that volume can be discharged to the river. Hopefully that clears up the capture one. Additionally, as we've spoke about some obligations that the city has committed to, that's to address flooding to help protect their property owners from flood damages from regular storm events to the greatest extent possible. So to summarize last year, in 2020, the city saw a total of 64 overflow occurrences and numerous flood events throughout their low-lying areas. So the city has the work cut out for them, but there was a lot of progress made and some major steps and commitments made in 2020, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. So just as an overview, the city obtained $1 million in grants towards sewer separation efforts on Main Street. And I'm going to talk about all these in greater detail. The city has applied for an additional $2 million of grants for the state fiscal year 2021 for Clay Street improvements. The city has performed a master plan reexamination, which addresses off-track improvements. This further provides a platform for the city to require developers to contribute their fair share towards these overflow and flooding goals. And lastly, the city has performed some Green Street planning analysis to identify priority projects to address the flooding in the lowest area of the Court Street combined sewer system. This analysis identifies multiple projects within the Court Street drainage area, and it provides an avenue for the city to apply these off-track improvement requirements to developers, to identify projects eligible for future grants and funding, and to engage in public-private partnerships that could come up to meet the long-term control plan goals. An easy one here maybe to think of is with a school, engage in a partnership with a school to maybe include some storage, and that would achieve this goal. So let's start with some progress at Main Street. So I think you guys have seen these diagrams quite a bit, but I'll be brief. But the city's Main Street sewer separation efforts allowed for 10% of the Court Street combined sewer area to be separated. So when we look at this map here on the left, hopefully you could all see my cursor. This green outline is the Court Street drainage area. It goes all the way around over here. 10% of that was allowed to be separated through the Main Street improvements. So on this diagram in the middle, the yellow and the red shaded areas were what Main Street addressed, and that was 10% of the Court Street drainage area. This all took the stormwater that was regularly going into your combined sewer system, limiting capacity for areas like Green Street and Clay Street. And now it's going to go out through Foschini Park. The stormwater will go right through Foschini Park, and it's going to not have an impact on your combined sewer system. So this is really going to start providing that relief in your low-lying areas and to allow additional conveyance capacity. Probably what everyone's the most familiar with. Moving on to Clay Street. Clay Street's currently in the what I would call the permitting phase. We are looking to receive the $2 million of grant money. So this, when I say grants, that's free money and permission from the DEP for a new outfall through Foschini Park. That's what we're doing right now. So we're working towards that. Upon completion of the Clay Street improvements, another 11% of the Court Street drainage area can be separated. So that brings the total of those two projects, if you would, to 21% of the Court Street drainage area following the completion. Just so you all know, the next step for this project is going to be a public hearing. So this is a requirement from the state due to the new outfall as part of an environmental decision document. This is being coordinated with numerous departments throughout the city. I appreciate all of their assistance. And we're anticipating it's going to take place on your March 23rd council meeting. So following the public hearing, we're going to continue to work with the state to secure the appropriate approvals needed for the funding and the construction. And you should be seeing bid advertisement for this project in early to mid-April. This project is already covered under a bond ordinance, which is Bond Ordinance 39-2019, which addresses sewer separation efforts in the Court Street drainage area. So real quick, just to refer to these maps, I talked about Clay Street being restricted by the rails that surround it to the south and to the east. So it creates this bowl, and that's one of the reasons it surcharges. There's nowhere for it to evacuate unless it gets out through this combined system that goes through the high school. What we'll do, if you look at the plan on the right, is take these blue areas, and that's what has the largest impact on the whole system, and convey this through the improvements that were constructed as part of Main Street and out through a new upsized outfall in Foschini Park and the Toyota dealer. So that's what we're working on now. And again, you're going to hear, and we're going to have a public hearing in March and hopefully out to bid in early to mid-April. The next project I want to talk about was Green Street. Green Street is in the planning phase currently, and the objective of this planning effort is really to concisely outline the priority projects needed to address the overflows and the flooding within this really low-lying area. Once this master plan, if you would, and priority listing is created for these improvements, it's going to allow the city to be in great shape to identify projects eligible for grants and funding as early as next year, apply off-track improvements for development, which we talked about, and again, look to engage in public-private partnerships. So this document, this planning phase is going to frame all of these goals and help the city achieve that. So we recently had a meeting, a progress meeting with the city in regards to our Green Street analysis. So to provide you all with a brief summary of the progress meeting that we held with the city, our recommendation is to disconnect the Green Street infrastructure from the rest of the Court Street drainage area. So if we refer to this map here, Green Street, located here, its main infrastructure is this black line, and it combines with the rest of the Court Street drainage area's infrastructure. Being the lowest lying area within this combined sewer area, it's the first thing to surcharge. So if anywhere along this line there's not enough capacity, Green Street is going to surcharge. So to address this, a culvert must be constructed from Green Street to the river. So if we want to disconnect it, we need to find another avenue for the stormwater. So we'd have to construct a culvert from Green Street directly to the river. Due to the elevations of Green Street, we're at elevation about 6, a pump station would be necessary. So we would need some property acquisition along the river to accommodate a pump station. We've evaluated some of the city's owned properties, and it doesn't appear that any of them would work. So currently, Eleni Giannakopoulos from our office, who I know has presented to you all previously, is working with Jim Mangan and hopefully creating a new bond ordinance to introduce to you all for review. We're also working with Jim to solidify principal forgiveness for future Green Street projects. And some good news there is any property acquisition that's needed would be covered by the iBank program, as long as it covers property acquisition costs. As long as it covers combined sewer improvements. So we're going to continue to work with the city to identify these priority projects. We'll work with Jim to make sure that the funding is in place for this. And I look forward to presenting more on Green Street for you all in the near future. So the last thing I wanted to mention is that Suburban has commenced a collaborative effort, is what I'll call it, between the city's Office of Emergency Management, and that's through Deputy Chief Nyland, Millennium Strategies, your grant writers, and the New Jersey Office of Emergency Management. So the NJOEM is what you normally hear them referred to as. And this is to identify a scope of a project that could be eligible to receive a Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities grant, so BRIC grant is what they're known as, or a Hazard Mitigation Assistance grant. And that's through the Office of Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. So this is really in its infant stages. We're really just having some discussions to try to identify what a project would need to entail to receive this funding. The grant opportunity can go beyond a combined sewer footprint and can address flood mitigation areas beyond what the DEP and the iBank could. So this is the draw to us to continue to have these conversations. It's a very exciting opportunity for the city to align with your goals in meeting your long-term control plan and addressing flooding. And I hope to advance these discussions. At this point, we have bi-weekly discussions with the NJOEM to see what opportunities we can create for additional flood mitigation funding. Some of you may be familiar with some of the work Hoboken has done. They received tens of millions of dollars of funding through this exact agency. So we're continuing to look at that, and that is the summary I have for all of you today.
Okay, thank you, Erin.
You're welcome.
Any questions from the council?
Great job as always, Erin. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Kathy.
Thank you,
Aaron,
Aaron.
when you say Clay Street, is it going Clay Street, Stanley Place, Berry Street, Passaic Street? How far?
That is a great question, Deputy Mayor. Let me show you on that map. I should have spent some more time up there. All right, let me just go back one. So you see these blue areas, and it might be really hard to see, but this is Burden Place. Here's Clay Street. Here's Central. So this area that actually is known at that sees the most surcharge right against the rail is not somewhere we're going to have localized improvements. Rather, what we're going to do is we're going to go upstream of that, where our elevations get a little higher. And what that allows us to do is get, I want to say, double the volume and area through a culvert and out, because we have some elevation to work with to our advantage. So again, we're going to go up above, and I believe this is First Street here, right? If we see the high school, First Street here, we're going to go up and above that, collect this, and then head through across the rail. We were doing some investigations at the rail, geotechnical, and then connect in and again start separating this area. So we have Main Street, State Street, and then we're going to start with our separation efforts.
Okay, once again, Berry Street floods, Badan Place floods, and Stanley Place floods. Are they going to be addressed?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor, I didn't do a good job explaining that. So the goals of this separation project and addressing these areas is to alleviate the flooding here within this hatched area. And I'm sure it is impossible on your screens to see this hatched area. So I'm just going to try to trace it, the outline. But this overall area is that low-lying area that's kind of, like I said, described as a bowl, right? That we have both rails impacting. The improvements that we see here are to perform separation and to address what we call surcharge flooding, and that's in this area. So I apologize, I didn't do a good job explaining that.
That's okay. If tomorrow you can just, if you can send me an email that those streets are included, Stanley Place, Berry Street, Badan Place, that would be outstanding.
Okay, so Stanley and Barry. So Stanley's up here, Barry's up here. I could send you an email on how these improvements assist in all of this flooding area.
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions from the council for Aaron? Okay, thank you, Aaron.
You're
Aaron,
welcome. Thank
so
you
much.
all.
We'll speak soon.
Okay,
Uh,
have a great
next
evening.
on my- Thank you. Next on my list is a discussion and an update from Susan McVeigh, our health officer, on COVID-19 vaccine clinic updates. Susan?
So over the last several months, Hackensack Health Department has been taking steps to provide COVID-19 vaccine clinic for eligible residents, particularly our seniors and those without available transportation to one or more of the large sites in our county. Both myself and my health educator have been reaching out to our community partners, our local churches, Hackensack Housing Authority, and BVMI, which is Bergen Volunteer Medical Initiative, to get all of this started and to start working on getting vaccine to the people of Hackensack. We are certified by the state of New Jersey to operate a COVID-19 vaccine clinic. That being said, on February 6th, we were notified by the state that local clinics will no longer be getting vaccine, that all of the available vaccine for the state of New Jersey will be going to Bergen County and their large site at Newbridge and Paramus. So that's going to be going on for the foreseeable future. I'm on daily conference calls with the state. And one of the newer conference calls is the vaccine clinic calls. And just today, the Assistant Commissioner of Health, Dr. Adenaro, he said that the state will expand the network of clinics when supplies increase and the new vaccine is approved. So they're waiting for J&J's vaccine to be approved, which was submitted, but if it is approved, will not be available till March at the earliest. What I am suggesting that people do in the meantime is go onto hackensack.org, make sure that you're eligible. I have everything is posted on the front page. The most local sites, which would be Newbridge and Paramus, the mega site in the Meadowlands, and there are some other smaller sites that are around, are posted there. So unfortunately, I went on all of those sites today and they all say that there are no appointments available. Basically, what it's saying is that we need to sit tight and wait for vaccine to be available. There is more demand than there is supply, and the state needs to step up and do a better job at getting vaccine to the locals, to the mega sites and to the large sites so that we can get it out to our citizens. There is a state health department hotline. I posted that online too, but I'll mention it here. It's 855-568-0545. And there are people there during the day. It's an automated system, but if you want to speak to someone, there are people there that could assist you and speak to you and try to help you to get an appointment. Continuing, we will make every effort to secure vaccine to ensure that at-risk members of our local community are appropriately served. And we will keep everybody posted through the city manager's office and on hackensack.org to let you know where we are going forward. That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
None here. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Susan. And there was a request for you to speak briefly at the next meeting. You're good with that?
Yeah, what, will it be this link?
No, there'll be a new link and I'll have Frank send that to you.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Next is a discussion on reference to the ordinance, long-term hotel stay restrictions. Steve?
Dave Kleiman, you here?
I'm here. I'm just technical difficulties.
There you go.
There we go. So yes, so we have two ordinances on for first reading tonight. These ordinances deal with hotels. So the city currently does not have an ordinance to regulate hotels and motels. Most cities in the state have such an ordinance. We actually have an ordinance that deals with how you can obtain a room tax from them, but not how they get licensed, requirements for proper operation, making sure that they're safe and don't cause any sort of harm to the community. So while we don't have any hotels active in Hackensack right now, the hope is with the redevelopment that we might get some interest in that sort of business. And so we've prepared that ordinance. That being said, there is a separate type of hotel known as a extended stay hotel. These are hotels that market themselves to weekly or monthly guests. These hotels tend to have kitchens and laundry facilities and essentially serve as de facto apartments, potentially for very lengthy periods of time. There has been some interest in long-term extended stay hotels in Hackensack, and the council's feeling, I think, or at least some of the council's feeling to this point, and of the city's professionals, is that this type of hotel use is not what the city is looking for at this time. You know, these are not the type of hotels like the Hasbrook Heights Hilton or anything like that. They tend to be of, tend to have greater concerns for the community. So as part of that second ordinance, we are proposing to make this to make those a non-permitted use, meaning that in order to be able to build an extended stay hotel as it's defined in the ordinance, they would have to get the appropriate variance from the zoning board to be permitted to operate. And they would have to show that, in fact, their operation would not be of a detriment to the community. So combined, that will address concerns regarding hotels and motels by those two packages. So they're there for introduction on first reading tonight. Certainly, if there's any questions regarding them, I'm happy to answer them. And obviously, we'll have a public hearing in a couple of weeks to the extent that there might be further concerns or questions. I would also note that the base model for the ordinance regarding hotel and motel licensing actually comes from our neighboring community of South Hackensack, which does have quite a number of hotel and motel establishments along Route 46. And then it was modified significantly to address Hackensack's individual needs and concerns. But as I said, most municipalities and especially cities in the state, they do have a hotel and motel ordinance, so that if you're going to come into town, you want to build a hotel, you know what the rules are in advance. And it's better to do this now than down the line after a hotel project is already along the way to being built and put into place.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Any questions? None? Okay. Ted?
Okay, number 4, no alternate parking. The issue, because we've just recently had probably one of the biggest snowstorms we've had since 1996. The city of Hackensack has not seen a snowstorm since that time period. Alternate side no parking signs are used for the following purposes. I'm reminding the residents of this so there's a better understanding of the rules and how this is enforced. So no parking signs are used for the following purposes: street sweeping, emergency no parking for road repairs, snow removal, and plowing. Alternate side parking signs are for certain hours so city workers have the ability to service the roadway if needed. Suspension of alternate side parking is not always beneficial to the city residents, because then we can't properly clean your roadway on its specified day. This does not mean that every roadway is guaranteed snow removal because the vehicles have not been moved. There seems to be some confusion on that. As a courtesy, the city of Hackensack has arranged for the Atlantic Street parking garage and shops at Riverside to be parking locations during snowstorms when 2 inches or more snow has fallen. Residents are urged to park in their driveway. By parking in the street, your roadway cannot be plowed curb to curb. We have people that are residents that have driveways. They choose to park their car in the street, so when the snow plow truck comes by, it does not plow the mouth of their driveway full. But unfortunately, by parking that car, we can't clean the street properly. And then there's the real issue that comes to play here. And we've learned this again since we had this big snowstorm. This is a reminder: residents are not permitted to throw snow into the roadway to clean their cars, sidewalk, or driveways. We get complaints all the time from residents that say, "You didn't plow my street." Truth is, we plowed their street. Then the people came out to clean off their cars to go to work. They sweep all that snow into the street and drive away, and pretty soon it looks like we never touched it. The city of Hackensack is doing the best we can, and obviously the 2-foot plus snowstorm we just had reminded us of that lesson. Obviously, when there's only 2 inches of snow, that's one issue. But when you take the volume of snow, there's virtually 12 inches of snow piled on top of all these cars, and then dump it in the street, looks like we never touched it. And that's where the establishment and most of these complaints have come from. That would be the last of the city manager's report. And is there any questions of me?
Council? No questions.
Thank you very much. That completes the city manager's report for the COW.
Okay, I need a motion to open to the public, please.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
At this time, anybody from the public who would like to speak, please unmute your device, give your name to the clerk and your city or town of residence.
Good evening. This is Bridget, resident of Hackensack.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to address just what Ted was talking about the streets being cleaned. But the address is, I did reach out to you, your office, Ted, based upon the alternate parking from side to side. And No one's coming down here to actually clean the street. And then we get I guess it's a traffic officer placing tickets on cars. Where did you want us to go? If we live in a single family home and there's 5 cars in one home, someone has to park on the street. So when if our side of the street is on a Thursday parking and Monday's side of the street is not cleaned, where are you expecting us to go? So my thing for you is, it's the same thing with the garbage. I'm calling for the garbage, which is picked up, like you said, 1 time per week. No one comes down. No one came. But your secretary sent me a letter, an email rather, stating someone came on Wednesday morning. Well, let it be told, I have the Ring doorbell, which is a video camera, and no one came on Wednesday to pick up garbage. But that email I got stated that someone came to pick up the garbage. Okay? Now, answer the question about the snow. Where are people going? These are single family homes. There is more than 1 car going in a driveway. And if you have a large SUV and a large BMW and another car, that's 3 cars in a driveway. So somebody else has to park on the street. Where are people going? But you got somebody coming down here giving tickets, which has never happened in the past. So I need that ticket, or those tickets that were written on that day of the 4th after that snowstorm need to disappear or be written or paid by the city, because no one in the street is going to pay those tickets. We've never had that problem, but all of a sudden we got a problem. So now you need to answer, where is the snow going to go?
I think you have to phrase your questions. You're kind of all over the map on how I'm supposed to answer that. Where the
First
snow
is
goes,
the snow. Parking
Okay, so-
on one side, we can't move to the other side if you're going to come down and clean our street. That's what the snow plow.
right.
We get a ticket.
Um,
On this side of the street is what I'm trying to say. We can't go to the other side to park because there's snow over there and there are piles of snow. I sent
Ms.
you
Ruck-
pic-
Finish your statement and then let Ted speak, please.
He got the pictures.
I
Mr.
understand.
Mr.
I don't-
LaBrosse, I sent him
Miss-
pictures of the street, the snow, the
Over.
pile of snow. I sent him pictures of this street with the mounds of snow at each driveway on each side of the street. He chose not to answer because he know that was wrong. And then we have the DPW situation of the Wednesday garbage pickup after the snowstorm that they said was picked up, but was never truly picked up. I have a Ring doorbell, which is a camera. I see everything coming and going on this street.
So you're saying the entire street of Stanley Place we're talking about wasn't picked up on?
Yes. The
Wednesday?
entire street that I live on, which is the middle of the block.
Wednesday, is that your recycling day?
No, our recycling day, we put out the garbage because you guys changed it to the 1 day, which is Wednesday. But they
changed it-
never came on Wednesday. They never
didn't-
came.
We changed it to whatever day your recycling was.
Exactly, which is Wednesday. They
Okay.
never came to pick up the garbage or recycle. Never came. But I sent Ted an email and his secretary said, DPW said someone came. And I told her that's a lie because they did not come. But then when I got out there on Friday with the complimentary pickup of garbage and I let everybody know to put their garbage cans out there, I asked the young person, excuse me, why didn't you guys come down here? They said, oh, we were suspended. Now somebody needs to get their story straight.
I don't even know what you mean. They were
yeah,
suspended.
I have no idea what she's talking about.
They were suspended not to pick up the garbage.
All right, I believe.
That was the day after the storm.
Deb,
Okay, so let's get back to some factual information here. You said your garbage wasn't picked up The
No,
DPW went down and picked up your garbage the following day, yes or no?
no, they picked it up on Friday.
Okay, so let's go back. Was your sanitation, your garbage and your recycling picked up during that week? Now you say it was Friday.
It was Friday, yeah, because
Okay.
your secretary sent me a complimentary pickup of garbage. Said.
Ms.
Otherwise, I would
Rucker, you do realize that I rely on the information that's supplied to me. The police department, the officers that enforce summonses, or did you think I sent them out there to write?
No,
tickets?
I didn't say that you sent them out there. I didn't say you personally sent them out there.
Could I please finish a couple of sentences without you interrupting?
Buddy, stop right now. All right,
Right.
Mrs. Rucker, I
Yes.
apologize, but way past your 3 minutes. So let
Okay.
Fred
That's
speak his
fine.
piece, and let's listen to what he has to say, and we'll go from there. And you can continue with Ted tomorrow on the phone if you'd like. Thank you.
The points I'm trying to make is we've had the biggest snowstorm since 1994. There was snow all over the place. Our main obligation and responsibility is to clean up the roads as best we could and make them safe. We had 38 plow trucks in there. I'm well aware that the snow was piled up all over the place. I'm also aware that the city, because of parking, does not have an ample supply of parking or alternatives to people. I all I can say is that the people that have 5 vehicles in a single family house have to anticipate that that was going to be a problem. If they didn't and they parked illegally, the police department has the ability to enforce vehicles that are parked improperly. That's the discretion of the police officer. I can't tell them not to write the ticket. I can't tell them to write the ticket. However, I think we did the best that we possibly can. Can it always be improved? 100%. And we trying to work with many residents? We are. But the city of Hackensack can't be all things to all people simultaneously, especially on a storm of that magnitude. We're not talking about 1.5 inches of snow here. We were talking about a major snowstorm.
Can I please, let me just ask the city manager this, please. Just circle back with, is this the norm? Because usually when there's a snowstorm, we kind of ignore the street sweeping rule. And I don't know if that's back.
Those things, as far as enforcement of tickets or street sweeping, are normally relaxed because we understand the hardship this creates for people. We're not heartless. I understand the problem. The problem is that there is no good solution.
Traffic and see why they were writing tickets during a major snowstorm.
I have that written down.
All right, Ms. Rucker, that's what I'm gonna have him do, because I
Thank you. Thank you. Just, you made that, I wanted him to make that make sense after a major snowstorm where people can't move from side to side. We always move our cars if it's street sweeping or anything else. But if snow is piled up on both sides of the street, how is it possible for people to do alternate sides if there's nowhere to go?
It's not a problem just for Stanley Place. It's a problem, especially with all the small streets we have like Stanley Place throughout the city, including my block, where it's a problem. And, Monday was, a lot of snow. And obviously, I think one side of my block is street sweeping on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Might be Deputy Mayor Canestrino's side, as a matter of fact. And, I don't ever recall people getting tickets. So that's why I want to circle back and see what's going on with that. And hopefully we can resolve and help you out with that. How's that?
Mayor, if I may, Ted, though, haven't we made available certain parking lots and parking areas? Ms. Rucker,
Yes.
just if this may help you, because I think we're going to get some more snow, right? That
Right.
if it's a fifth car or something that you need to have on the street, you could temporarily, till the storm is over, park in one of these other locations, and you get the whole front of your house plowed clean, so quickly you can come back and have it be done. So that would
the Atlantic Street garage after 2 inches, and the shops at Riverside has a section that is set aside for residents to park. Unfortunately, that's not the greatest solution, but that's the only solution that we can provide at this time.
right, and it is annoying to have to move there, but it may be less annoying than to have to clean off your car and try and shovel out and then not be able to move it. Just an option, something else for you to think about that the city does provide.
Right. Well, the thing that made that storm really is that it was declared a state of emergency. We had all that snow. People have all these vehicles. They're not going anywhere anyway. So now the advantage of having the vehicle so you have mobility becomes a hardship for you, because now it's a paperweight right in the middle of you. And now what are you going to do with a vehicle? I mean, there are no easy solutions.
Right.
The obviously, and Ms. Rucker brings up an interesting point, is that the issuance of summonses just compounds the problem. I understand it. However, from prior experience, if a police officer decides that that car is illegally parked because it's a view obstruction or in the way, that's his discretion, and that's up for the judge to decide whether that's the way you resolve those conflicts. So, but I will check with the police department and find out why all of a sudden that seemed to be an issue.
Okay, next person from the public, please.
Hello.
Yes, hello?
Hi, Regina DePasqua, Hackensack resident. Don't let anybody tell you any different. I still am. First of all, I want to acknowledge the passing of a former city council member, Charles McAuliffe.
Yes,
He and I didn't always get along, but he was a good man, and may he rest in peace. I have a couple of comments regarding the city attorney's comments at recent meetings, where he inserted himself in as a buffer for Mr. Sims by referring to the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office complaint. I don't believe that's in his job description to run interference for a council member who was not acting in his official capacity when the incident happened, or was he acting in his official capacity? Is it common that Hackensack elected officials use their positions to obtain services for themselves or family members which are not available to residents? He used a city employee while she was on city time for a personal matter. That might very well be an ethics violation, and you're all aware of it, but everybody's silent on that. And it's something into which the city attorney should not insert himself if it is indeed an ethics violation. The city attorney also stated that the costs of what had to be addressed were paid by Mr. Sims. He paid $96.24. That's the cost of 2 employees at 1 hour each. No PPE, no supplies, and it doesn't take into account the cost of the loss of the services of the employee who was required to quarantine as a result of Mr. Sims' reckless behavior. That cost is in the $3,000 range for the 2 weeks, maybe, I believe. That's not taken into consideration at all. You're giving this guy a pass, and he doesn't deserve a pass, okay? There are many residents that are outraged about this, and the city attorney blowing it off and presenting it as if it's all good because less than $100 was paid by Mr. Sims. No, there's more to it. That's it. I'm not taking 10 minutes of your time. I'm not. Any comment?
Anybody from the council? I will say this.
Silence is consent.
Silent, Mr. Pascal, give me a second here. But I couldn't agree with you more. As you know, I work in the healthcare industry, and I see horrible things every day since this past March. And I was not happy with, and I made it quite clear that I wasn't happy with Mr. Sims's actions. And he knows that. I spoke with him personally about it. But that said, I have nothing to do with the fine. I will agree with you that it's well known and it's documented in the papers. And, just because we didn't scream all over, it's documented in the papers that he was there doing personal business. So there's no reason to, if you want to rehash it, that's fine. But we all know that's what happened. So nobody here is hiding that happened. Nobody's giving him a free pass as far as I'm concerned. But, and we had members of the public coming out to defend Dave Sims, and I disagree with many of their comments, with comments such as no crime, no foul. I found that offensive because it was a foul because, like you just mentioned, people had to quarantine during the holidays, missed their being with their families, so forth and so on. So that's all I have to say on that. Thank you, Mr. Pasqua. Next person, please.
Hi,
nobody.
my name is Marasia. I'm a Hackensack resident.
Hi, ma'am.
I just wanted to ask a question to clarify the parking for the Atlantic Street garage.
Yes,
We're only allowed to park in the yellow spaces and not the white spaces when the snow is removed, correct?
I'm
when
not
there's-
100. I'd have to defer to the manager.
That is my belief that that's the action taken because people pay a reserve for reserve parking in that garage. So if you're going to park in it, you're not allowed to override the, paying customers, so to speak.
Okay, and then
But-
I had a follow-up question about it. The restriction was only until 7 a.m. Is there any way that for the next snowstorm, maybe it can be pushed to 9 or something a little bit later, like when the street parking starts again?
I think it went till Wednesday at 9 a.m., I think, didn't it?
I think
I
that
haven't noticed it's, oh, sorry.
I believe that there was some extension there. I don't recall the time. The problem is that once they start the cleanup, they have to get things cleaned out for the garage for the next essentially shift to the park. So extending that now belabors our ability to clean lots and move people on also. So, it's like a house of cards, so to speak.
Okay, and then for the street parking during the snow, are the meters relaxed for paying it as well? Or because sometimes it's hard to figure out which meter to pay when there's no parking lines because it's covered with snow.
Good question.
There is limited, well, look, depending where you park, obviously parking becomes a premium when you're trying to get towards the hospital. But during a snowstorm, we do not have parking enforcement officers out enforcing parking meters. It just doesn't happen. It's just not functional.
It could happen days later, though, even though the streets still have a lot of snow on them, possibly.
Correct. But during the storm, that's not possible.
Right, not during the storm.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank- Next person from the public? Motion to close the public?
Offer.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will see everybody back here in about 7 minutes.
There you go.
A motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Okay.
adjourn.
Offer.
second,
I need a motion to close the executive session.
Offer.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.